Coming off Halloween Havoc, WCW immediately addressed the technical issues that happened at the end of the pay-per-view broadcast last night. As due to miscommunication with some of the cable pay-per-view providers, the live broadcast cut off at approximately 10 to 20% of the homes at various points between the end of the Hogan Warrior match to the entrances of Page and Goldberg. Tony began by saying that some pay-per-view systems went down prematurely, which led to a percentage of fans missing the main event, saying that WCW officials met during the day and in a one-time-only situation, the decision was made to air the full Goldberg vs. Dallas Page title match on television tonight. With the Havoc pay-per-view card one of the most stacked in company history, the plan was to go half an hour long on a pay-per-view, with the show scheduled for 3.5 hours instead of the regular 3. The company notified the cable industry on the added time to the show, with one of the biggest providers in DirecTV changing its time to 3.5 hours as confirmation that they got the message. The issue was some providers, in either an individual mistake or miscommunication, didn't get it and cut off at the previously scheduled time. Due to the intense ratings competition and some of the complaints and phone calls, allegedly executives of some cable companies got calls from WWF officials claiming that it was a ratings ploy, leading to Tony clarifying that the situation was legit and wasn't done to boost the Monday night rating, saying that the competition would have you believe that it was done as a ratings ploy, but unlike them they don't need to resort to shock value to draw ratings, referring to the Austin McMahon gun segment, and saying that to emphasize it, viewers will not have to wait until the end of the show as the match will be aired an hour from now at around 9 p.m. The Goldberg-Page match was strategically placed to start at 8:55 p.m., with the show turning the hour just as Goldberg made his memorable entrance from the '98 Havoc to a huge pop from the Vegas crowd. While Michael Buffer introduced Goldberg and Page, Raw opened with Steve Austin arriving to the building with a smile, and Vince McMahon out for the follow-up promo on last week's Austin Bang 316 angle, saying that he holds the audience responsible for what happened last Monday, referring to legal document that Austin brought, saying that he will fight him all the way to the Supreme Court if he has to, demanding his attorney's group to break the documents, in addition to an X-Pac vs. Blackman match also in the first quarter. While WCW announced that the match will start at 9 p.m. almost an hour ago, Raw was taped on October 20th and couldn't respond on the spot with a special attempt at counter-programming the match. WCW ended the unopposed hour already at record levels, drawing a 6.3 rating for the final quarter, with the match ending up breaking every record in Monday Night War's history. In one of the few times in history, WCW not only maintained the entire unopposed audience, but picked up huge with an additional 1.2 million viewers when Raw started to an all-time record 7.2 rating, making the Goldberg-Page match the highest-rated segment in history, beating the previous record of 6.9 for the Goldberg vs. Hogan match on July 6. More records were that the match was the most-watched segment in cable TV history, and the 7.2 to 3.3 gap of 3.9 rating points between the shows was also the biggest gap in history. Another point was that the match was the first non-Hulk Hogan segment to break into the top 5 most-watched quarters, with Bill Goldberg now holding 3 spots in the all-time top 5 including the top 2. After the first quarter, viewership went back to a more normal pattern, with Raw gaining over 1.4 million viewers for Rock vs. Droz going 6 minutes, with Rock continuing to catch fire by the week 20 days from the Survivor Series Deadly Games, with the building exploding for the People's Elbow finish. WCW had Nash's interview on last night's Scott Hall match, saying that it wasn't about winning but trying to get his friend back on track, with Hall coming in to shake his hand before Giant attacked from behind to put him through a wall. Along with NWO Hollywood coming out with Hulk getting Horace Hogan in the group after passing his test in the last week. Next, Raw had a Motley Crue performance being introduced by DX, with Vince McMahon continuing to go crazy in the boardroom telling his lawyers to break the contract in the build-up to the document reveal. With WCW up against it having the end of the NWO segment, along with Eddie Guerrero vs Perry Saturn and a post-match LWO attack. Raw's big segment of the night was next as Steve Austin came out 7 minutes from the top of the hour for the document's reveal, bumping Raw over 1.6 million viewers to a show-height 5.5 rating for the McMahon's legal confrontation, along with a Kane vs Gangrel match. Austin addressed the gun angle from last week saying that he told McMahon the gun was a toy, there would not be any pain involved and he would not feel a thing, which he didn't, before going to the talked about document, revealing a new contract which also guarantees him one title match. The worked angle comes in coincidental timing with reports over the last few weeks of Steve Austin's growing dispute with the company about how they handle his outside media offers, with specific instances on magazine and movie roles. Vince then came out saying that he might not be able to do anything about the contract but he can book him in a match, booking Austin vs Ken Shamrock in an I Quit match for the main event. McMahon then asked how Austin could do this, turning an underachieving kid into a monster, just as Shane walked to the ring. Raw's segment continued with Shane revealing that he rehired Austin with a new contract, turning on Vince cutting a promo on how for 28 years he did everything for Vince and nothing was good enough. With Shane making sporadic appearances for the past year along with being part of the commentary team on Heat, this promo was the start of Shane as a regular part of the main angles. Ending up with Austin throwing Shane a beer while on the way out of the building, in another segment to set the stage for November 15th. After Bischoff said that he will let Ric Flair wrestle tonight for the first time since his return on September 14 during their segment in the first hour, Eric was back out at the top of the hour for the promoted match, ending up being highlights of the Flair vs Hogan Bash at the Beach 94 match, edited to only show Hogan dominating, with Eric saying that Flair can't pass a medical to wrestle again and will always be second fiddle to Hogan, continuing the build for the Flair and ring return with a match against Bischoff scheduled for Starrcade. After the top of the hour segments, both shows continued to trade viewership until the end of the program. Raw had ICP's in-ring debut, with Vince McMahon in the parking lot shown leaving the building, while WCW Scott Steiner and Buff Bugwell coming out for a promo, with Scott calling out J.J. Dillon and blaming him for losing to Rick, ending up with both attacking Dillon to close the segment. JR and King hyped this Thursday's episode of Celebrity Deathmatch, set to be Austin vs McMahon. Also announced in a press release during the week was the signing of Kurt Angle, with Raw having Shamrock promo hyping the main event, and Mankind and Snow simultaneously doing the head and sock gimmicks before the tag titles match. With wrestling shows taking over cable TV and dominating the key demographics, several high-profile media articles pointed to wrestling as the reason for Monday Night Football's declining numbers, with the combined viewership of both shows increasing even going against heavier sports competition. With the Goldberg Page match aside, both shows continued to go neck and neck in almost every segment. Warrior came out to a big ovation from the Phoenix crowd a day after losing the Hogan rematch, saying everybody saw him beat the hell out of Hogan last night, and a BS pinfall doesn't change it, bringing out Hogan with the group as Warrior took them out to a huge reaction, unofficially closing the Hogan Warrior program. After that, WCW had a big star power tag match with the Hollywood's Hall and Steiner against Wolfpack Luger and Konnan in a wild brawl going 4 minutes before being separated, with the loaded quarter keeping Nitro in the lead with a 4.6 rating. In the main event spots, WCW had Bret Hart vs Page for the US title going 11 minutes, while Raw had Ken Shamrock vs Steve Austin in an I Quit match going 6. Raw's final quarter jumped ahead to a 4.6 rating for Mankind and Al Snow vs the Outlaws for the tag belts, along with the entrances and first minute of the Austin Shamrock match, going against the first half of Hart vs Page. After several interferences from McMahon's group, Mankind interfered attacking Shamrock, with Austin going over after knocking Shamrock with a chair shot to the head, bumping Raw to a 5.1 overrun rating. Page and Bret ended with Page hitting the cutter to win the US title, with Bret taking him out with a chair in the post-match injury angle similar to the Sting angle last night, which written him off TV for the next few months. Goldberg in his only appearance on the night ran into a big reaction with the show going off the air in a cliffhanger just as he got to the ring, with WCW overall winning the night, drawing its joint second highest rating in Monday Night War's history with a 5.1.